Hello, this is the contest, Fantasy Footy Show, where we must say goodbye to our full-length redraft episodes for season 2026. It's very sad. I know. I'm Jesse. I like Redraft with K-Man. He's Jill Houtwin, where you host We Like Fantasy Footy. You can follow K-Man on Twitter at K-Man_TC Fantasy. You can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy. K-Man, buddy, how you doing, man?
Good. We're on. Footy is back. It starts tonight. I'm pumped. Carlton, Sydney Swans. I've got a few things to raise with you, my man. But isn't it great? It's just we've had the preseason where it felt like an eternity, and then all of a sudden we're on tonight, and our families, we'll see them in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, I must admit, we've been so busy with the pod this last week. I had to be like, to my wife, I had to be like, all right,
yeah.
This night and this night, I will not even mention the letters AFL to you. Don't worry.
I've got to go back to, Friday night, Saturday Arvo, Saturday night, Sunday lunchtime, Sunday Arvo, the late game on the Sunday.
It's going to be, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time. Yeah, I'm so excited. Footy season's a little bit different, isn't it? Life is just a little bit brighter when footy's on the telly. So, yeah. I'm keen. I'm very excited for tonight.
I got two things. Can I raise with you? So,
no.
Obviously. Oh, no. All right. Well, next. No. Obviously, one of the biggest storylines before the first bounce is Charlie Curnow versing the Blues. He turned his back on the Blues. Can I ask, is the day gone where Vossi puts a pin-up of Charlie Curnow with his shirt off and says, fellas, this guy, he comes off with bruises all over it. Like, he does not move around ground without a bump? Or do you think the day of that football has changed and it's going to be a couple of cuddles, a couple of laughs, maybe a kiss on the cheek, and we'll see you at the end of the game?
You know, I can see Vossi absolutely doing that exact thing, and I can see him putting the poster on the wall. I can see him getting he was a gnarly football player, man, and I reckon he's still got it in him.
You reckon he's in there?
No, I think they're going to go hard. Yeah, they're going to go hard. They're going to go after him. It might be smiles after the game, but during that game, like, they are not friends for tonight. I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Okay. What do you reckon? Do you agree?
I don't know. The new age footballer, the player movement happens quite a bit now. I agreed. I don't think Fossey, it's in him just to go, let him kick 5 on us, fellas. I'm really excited to see before the bounce. You know, where they run out into their positions?
Yeah.
Is he just going to
it's going to be shovey-shovey. There's going to be shovey-shovey. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
I think so.
Second thing, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a few team releases this week for Classic and a McAndrew at R2.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it.
No.
I can't do it.
Neither can I. You and I are on the same page. We've talked about this. It's too... I don't know. Look, I'm newer to Classic than you are, so tell me if I'm way off here, but I feel like McAndrew at R2, especially with like a red dot at R3 situation that's very popular at the moment, I feel like that is fraught with danger to me. There's a lot of different potential issues that could pop up with that. Even if McAndrew's job security is locked in for like 4 to 6 weeks, even so, I don't know. I just think if something goes wrong, whether he doesn't score consistently, he does lose his job, he gets injured, I just hope that if you've not got someone at R3 that can step in some capacity, that you've got a plan for how you're going to fix that up, and a player that you're comfortable to kind of move on from elsewhere. Because I just don't see how you would easily fix that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the mob boss at R3, Vicentini. I've seen...
I was like, where's he going with this?
I've seen the mob boss at R3, and even that, I can't do it.
No, can't do it. I was getting De Niro, vibes from that.
Yeah,
need the mole right there. Maybe we could edit that in. I can't do it. I think I still don't. Have you decided on your ruck line yet? Like, have you? Because I'm finalizing my team this weekend. I still haven't got it all locked in yet. And obviously O-round, but I'm not done with the ruck line yet.
It's going to be very team release dependent tonight.
Oh yeah,
I think
totally.
If a certain person is named,
it's been so long since the
daylight.
It's been so long since last year. It's been a year. I've forgotten what time teams actually get released. It's 6 or 6:30.
I'm waiting to see where the big Briggs is named.
I thought you might be. Do you want to trade him for him? Do you want me to trade?
Fact,
you want to trade for him?
What a great segue! What a great segue!
We got a great show lined up for you today, everyone. This is our last redraft episode, so we thought we'd make it light. We thought we'd make it fun. We're going to hit you with some redraft season-long strategy, but we are also going to recap our home league draft, which was fraught with a little bit of drama, as we alluded to last episode. Before we get stuck into it, though, if you dig the content, remember to chuck us a follow, 5-star rating over there on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you like the content, and like, share, and subscribe over on the YouTubes. Do that stuff. That'd be really, really helpful. So without further ado, I guess we should get stuck into it. We don't have a drop. Feels like that's a spot for a drop, but we don't have a drop. So I guess we'll just go straight into it. I better share my screen over here. I'm going to pull our draft board, our home league draft board, up on the board. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? I figure we start with our teams that we came out with.
I'll kick off because I think I won this one.
Yeah, go for it. It's you versus me in round one. We're playing each other first up.
Believe it straight away. And I saw the projected scores, and I was like, geez, my team that bad. Look, really stoked with my first 3 picks. Actually, my first 4 picks, to be fair. Picked up Goulden, pick 5, Grundy at pick second round, followed by Walsh, Dane Zorko in round 4. Thank you very much. Clayton Oliver, John Noble, Jordan Tagoe. Oh, should I be rattling these off in lines, or am I just rattling them off in order?
I probably would have gone line by line.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You're doing well. You're doing well.
I'm looking at the draft board, and I'm thinking, well, this is confusing. This is confusing.
I wasn't going to stifle your jam,
Jumping across lines. I'll start again, shall I? Defensive line. I got Zorko, Noble, and Will Powell. I picked up really late. Mm-hmm. Midfield, Goulden, Walsh, Oliver, Hayden Young. Stoked that he's injured already. Brody Grundy is my ruck, and then my boy Jordan Tagoe at F1, C-Mac at F2, Rochelle at F3. On my utility, I've got Cogs and Bruin, and then my bench, I've got defensive cover in Liam Duggan. I've got midfield cover in Atkins, who's probably going to have to come straight in for Hayden Young, depending how he pulls up. Kelly, a forward bench, and then just sitting there is Warple. And I picked up Ryan Marrick on the waivers today.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Is the draft ended a round before we could actually finish our team? Like we had one empty bench slot.
Yeah.
No, I think I must have in the settings. I don't know why it happened. It was weird, but anyway, whatever. Look, like it. Love the back line. Will Powell as like a late round D3, like if you punted that position, I think that's like he's as good a pick as any to fill that spot. We were going to go over things like we were going to do favorite picks, worst picks, and biggest snipes. But I'm just going to inject snipes? That in now.
You're going straight to the snipes.
Because
straight into Wesley Snipes.
Errol was my boy in round 1. That is who I wanted, and I knew I wasn't going to get Shees because he went 101.
Yeah.
But I wanted Errol. And then 2 picks before me. You had pick 5. I had pick 7. Off the board he goes. It did make my pick in that round really easily, which ended up being Jordan Dawson. But no, love your midfield too. Goulden, Walsh, Oliver. It's a real shame that Hayden Young's... What is his injury, by the way?
Look, they think it's lower end. It just said lower leg, and they're not too concerned. Apparently the media's blown it up more than what it is. So I think it's just a manage towards the end of that Pracky game, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay.
Atkins is a good sub, I think.
Either way, Hayden Young is an M4. Really like that. That must feel
Yep.
really, really strong. Atkins is a great sub. He should give you a safe 82 floor with any given week. He could go 100. Atkins. So
yeah, I guess
that.
It'll be interesting to see how Warple affects Atkins this year. Atkins was the number one cog, wasn't he? He was the hard work, war horse of that midfield for the season. Now that Warple's in, whether it just gives him a bit of more time on the bench, just to freshen up, a little bit more impact, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see.
It's kind of a shame because I think Atkins is way better than James Warple, like as a real life footballer, like as a player. Yeah. So it's kind of annoying that they've got another guy in there from a fantasy perspective to kind of ruin that for us a little bit. But yeah, no, it's a good point. And other players I'm liking from your team.
Oh, yep.
Sorry, I'm not done glazing you yet, mate.
Yeah, great.
Where'd you get You got Brodie Grundy in round 2.
Midway through round 2. And he was sitting there and I said, no, I've got to. So Strat,
do it.
Strat was going to be midfielder, because Whitfield went, Rosie went, and he was just sitting there. I said, I've got to do it. I've got to take Brodie Grundy midway through round 2.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think if the player that I took wasn't there, I'd have probably taken Brodie Grundy. But no, awesome pick up there. And then I like your forward line too. It's such a good example of a zero forward strategy like that you've put into place. So C-Mac, Josh Rochelle, Jordan De Goey. These are 3 guys with upside, 2 of which you'd feel very confident should give you some reasonable scoring, and one of which is your boy Jordan De Goey, who depending on how things go at Collingwood, could be really great too.
So Rochelle at round 10. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, correct.
Which enabled me then, as I said, to get the Gould and the Walsh, Zorko, Grundy. So worked out all right.
Yeah, and I see when you took Rochelle, I almost took him, but I took another player, and I was thinking I felt like maybe Rochelle might come back to me in the 11th, just given the makeup of our league. We're 2 of 3 complete fantasy degenerates in this league, so I figured maybe he might slip through the cracks, come back to me in round 11, but he didn't. So great pickup. Team Chunnel. I came out with Lockie Whitfield, James Sicily, and Callum Mills as my backline. I would actually put Callum Mills as my D2 there, but keepers flicked him round. Midfield of Jordan Dawson, Ed Richards, Jai Caldwell, and Sam Durham. Big Nank.
Tell us the Nank story. Come on, that's great.
Hey, I'll finish the lineup and then I'll roll back to it. Okay, Big Nank as R1. And then I got Christian Petrarca, Bailey Humphrey, and Sam Lawler as my forward line. And then I got Kieran Briggs and Dan Houston in my flex. Our league has 2 flex or 2 utility spots. So I got those 2 boys lined up there. Emergencies, I actually picked up Harry Rowson in like the second last round. Yeah, nice. Thinking maybe he could offer some upside. And I picked up both Hollands boys off of waivers, which I'm really keen on. I know you're not big on Elijah, but I'm pretty high on him. And Ollie Hollands put up a respectable score. He looked a bit better this preseason than he looked last year. So I'm hoping that he'll be good for some 80s and 90s. And look, I took Bailey Dale in this league as well, knowing that he is. I'm sorry if there was a massive P noise in the mic there. I just went Bailey. I took Bailey Dale, so he's sitting in my injured reserve spot. So he will slot into my defensive line when he's well, and I think that will create a much more robust lineup. And I got Brent Daniels and Murphy Reed sitting on the bench as well. Brent Daniels found out after the draft that he's going to be out for like 5 weeks. So.
You know what?
He just kept falling.
I look at that side, and you did surprise me, my man. You went aggressive with your defensive line more than what I thought you would. Traditionally, a Chunnel or a Van Ruin boy would have been highly aggressive on your midfield. Tell me about the change. Was it purely reactionary during the draft that these players were still on the table? Was that your strategy going in?
No, I was pretty was pretty tight to my rankings with this one actually, and I really just used the what I did actually is I created a separate spreadsheet, and I had all I had on that was I separated out all of the categories, all of the positions into 4 separate columns. So I had my tiers for midfielders separate from my defenders, separate from my rucks, separate from my forwards, all on one page in front of me, just crossing them out as I went. And for the first sort of like half of the draft, 2/3 of the draft, I just followed that. If there was a player that was in a higher tier at this position, I just kind of went that way. And there were a couple of picks though, like Bailey Dale I took in the 7th round because people just weren't touching him. Like names that went ahead of Bailey Dale because of his injury were Rory Laird, Colby McKercher, Callum Mills, John Noble, Nick Blakey, Christian Salem, Archie Roberts, Jordan Clark. Now, some of those names totally fair to go ahead of Bailey Dale, but a couple of them I feel like not. And it got to round 7, and I was looking at the names after him. I was looking at a Jasper Fletcher, who there are question marks around. I was looking at a Tom McCarthy, who we're not sure about his ceiling or his upside in that West Coast system. Miles Bergman, Tom Stewart, Darcy Wilmot. I just sort of went, I think I got to take, I feel like I've got a really strong defender option who I've just got to be a bit patient with at a really good point in the draft. So I think traditionally he'd go a couple rounds early. So there were a couple of picks like that I just saw value. James Sisley, I saw value in round 9 as well.
That's great value. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty happy with some of those. The Nank story.
Yes.
So round 8, I didn't have a ruckman. Many teams did, but there were like 3 teams sort of that were going to have 2 picks ahead of my next one. And they didn't have ruckman. And so, but I was second guessing it as well. So the names on the board were Tom de Koning, Nank, Kieran Briggs. These were kind of the ruck names that were remaining on the board. And I just fluffed about. I just faffed about. I was looking at other names, and then Josh Rochelle caught my eye, and he was like, "No, it's too early for him." And then I panicked, and then I had 1 second, and I meant to click Tom de Koning, and I clicked Nank, and then sure enough, Tom de Koning went the next pick. So I don't know what happened there. I just, it got to me.
Yeah,
it got to me. So I ended up with Big Nank, and so I felt like a couple rounds later, I had to reinforce that. Give myself a backup. So I took Briggsy 2 rounds later, and I was thinking about taking Rochelle, but so maybe we'll do a little swapperoo on it.
So that's a swipe. Yeah, we could do a trade. I'm open.
We could do a trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Get back to you. Any big snipes? Any moments? Because there were plenty of moments for me where I just swearing my head off in the background over here because people taking my picks. Any players you missed out on that you were really keen on picking up?
My D2. There was a period in our draft where I think it was round 3. It went Walsh, Callahan, Caldwell, Flanders, Ashcroft, Steele, Thilthorpe, Marshall, Sarong, Petrarca, and Darcy. And I couldn't believe my luck when I thought, I am picking up Dane Zorko towards the end of round 4. But then that kicked off a run, and I thought, oh, here we go. So D2, I had lost to Roberts, lost to Geordie Clark. Laird was off the table. Kirch was off the table. Mills. And I felt like I panicked with the John Noble pick. So it was probably a D2 that I felt I got swiped. But I just don't think, looking at my first 5 picks, what I could have adjusted. So a Goulden 1, Grundy, Walsh, Zorko, Oliver, Noble. Look, Noble's okay.
Grody. I love it.
We've got a new name. So that's where
that new name.
It was at that point where I felt, I've been swiped here by a couple. But
I got to be honest though, like looking at. So let me ask you this: so you took John Noble at 6'6". Of these names, Blakey, Dylan Moore, Tim Taranto, Christian Salem, Libba, Zach Bailey, Isaac Rankin, Lockie Neal. Are there any names in those ones that I just read out that you would rather have taken at 606?
All of them.
Really?
I would love to have picked. Well, Hayden Young was my M4. John Noble. I mean, then you have that drop, don't you, to those other tier defenders. So a Wilmot, McGrath, Rivers, Sicily. maybe a Newman coming back. Maybe they could have been a D2, a Bergman.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt because the Mills, McKercher, and Laird were off the table, I could have been a bit more patient and waited for those D2 options. But yeah, if I could pick up a Libber at M4, a Rankin,
it's true.
I think that's where just getting sniped there. Maybe I should have just calmed my composure just a little.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I still like it. I think I'm not convinced that last year was John Noble's ceiling. Like, obviously, we're not picking him in Classic because it could be his ceiling. I'm not saying this will happen, but I have been wondering. I haven't minded taking him in draft because I've been wondering if John Noble is a guy who could become like a Bailey Dale type, where he still has his low games, but he can also maybe explode every now and again. And I look at the global. I look at the Gold Coast system and just wonder, like, do they need a little bit more pace out of the back or something like that? And is he the guy that they want to do that? So I don't know. I feel like I don't mind that pick. I'm looking at my team and I don't love my second half of the draft. I think so. I took a Christian Petrarca in round 4.
Yep.
And I don't like it. I haven't done it all preseason. And then all of a sudden, I haven't done it all preseason. And then for some reason on actual draft day, I went, all right, let's do a Christian Petrarca. And do you know what I think it was? I was going to take Isaac Heaney in round 2. And then my mate Jack, who beat me in the grand final last year, I was on the phone to him and he did it. He's like, I know who you want. And then he picked Isaac Heaney.
2-3.
And then I thought I could get Flanders maybe on the 3rd, in the 4th. And he
did it again.
Too. He did it again. Yeah. So I couldn't take Flanders over Caldwell when I saw that. But so I think I took track because I was like, I wanted Heaney and I didn't get him. So I ended up just taking him in the 4th kind of as a consolation prize. But like if I look at some of these names after track, like Zach Merritt went at the end of round 4. I'd probably rather have a midfield of Jordan Dawson, Jai Caldwell, Zach Merritt, and Ed Richards, and then pick up someone like a Dylan Moore or a Sean Manor or a Jordan DeGoey, like a round, 2 round, 3 rounds later. So I think Christian Petrarca, if he doesn't hit some tons, I'm going to be spewing, I reckon.
Well, I'll happily trade you a C-Mac to either get a Petrarca or a Briggs and add in a something.
Well, we can talk. I don't know if C-Mac and a little something will be quite worth it. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. We might have to do a 3 for 2. All right, we'll chat after the pod. Yeah. Bale's team, while we're here, because Bale's joined the home league this year, and he jumped in at the last minute, saved our butts. He was recording a pod. And he missed the first 2 picks, and he somehow came out with Josh Dunkley. Really?
Yeah, okay.
He still came out with Josh Dunkley. I don't think he was stoked about Sherry being his round 1 pick.
No.
But for the listeners, I'm not going to read this in order because I don't have his team in front of me. But Bales came out with a midfield of Josh Dunkley, Jack Steele, Matt Kennedy, Tuke Miller, and then he picked up Will Day late for some late season upside. Jared Berry, Luke Parker, Elliot Yeo. He has Tristan Sherry in the ruck, and then he's got Riley Thilthorpe, Charlie Curnow, Sam Draper. He sniped from me. That's the round I took Briggsy. I should have taken. I was thinking about taking Draper, but I just couldn't say no to Sicily in round 9. Connor Buderick as his forwards, and then Laddie, Newman, Sam Banks, and Zach Reed as his defenders. So, question for you. Bales really leaned into the key forwards here. He went Riley Thilthorpe in round 4 and Charlie Curnow in round 7. Now, context for our listeners in our league, we have some interesting settings which we came up with ahead of the draft. We do 10 points for goals instead of 6. And we also awarded a few other ones. We award a half point per... it's like per mark inside 50 maybe, or 1 point per mark inside 50, half point per score involvement, and then 1 point for spoils as well. So maybe that could pay off.
We did talk about it pre-draft day, didn't we? That I don't know about you, but trying to squeeze in 18 midfielders can be a bit predictable. So I like the element that we at least reward some key positional players, and Bales has taken advantage of that. I don't know if he knew the rules before going in, but
I did send them to him. I thought it was only fair.
Okay, good. So
I
like
I reckon
that.
he's
No, what I like about Bales, and we noticed this in the mock draft, he's very clever about his back end drafting. I noticed. So to be able to pick up a Draper, Will Day, Newman, and have those ready to come back from injury. The Buderick late, I thought was a great pickup.
Awesome.
I mean, he's also got Jared Berry at pick 14, or round 14. Sorry. So I think the strength in Bales is not only the first getting those key personnel at the start, but he's very clever at getting back end draft picks.
Absolutely. Should we move on to strategy?
Yes. Now this is interesting because although this was fun, I don't want the season to finish. And I'm really interested about what you can provide our listeners about keeping the season alive and engagement throughout the week, and what we can do to really improve our team, rather than draft days complete and that's it. So hit us.
Yeah, I think I talked last year very early on in our tenure as a podcast about how we have a bit of a culture problem in redraft in AFL fantasy. And it's just because, it's the nature of the thing. Like, classic is the game. That's the big game. That's where the big prizes are. That's what all the content's about. So people are invested there. But I actually think since Keeper Fantasy came came into town a couple of years ago, I actually think redraft content is picking up. I think people are caring a little bit more about redraft as well. And so I think times are changing a little bit, but I do still think some of the areas where maybe we as a fantasy community struggle with redraft is, as you say, in that like season-long retention and engagement. And I think there are plenty of us who are probably guilty of getting to the halfway or the 2/3 mark of a season, and you just get so fixated on your classic team. Draft becomes like a chore. And so how do we stop it from being a chore?
And if you don't mind, I'd love to hear what you did the back end of last season, because I thought heading into finals, I was pretty happy with the setup, but you went that extra level and you made a couple of trades towards the end of last year where you picked up some guns. And I think that made a difference between you getting to, like I think it was your ruck line. You somehow got Heaney in late. So I thought, whoa, this has gone to another level, and got you to a granny.
Yeah. Okay. So good point. So, well, that's a great segue into trade strategy. So, can I circle back to that? Because I just want to give a bit of context. I've said before that redraft is still a trading game. We talk about classic as a trading game. Redraft is a drafting game, and that's true, obviously, to the name. But redraft is also a trading game. And if you don't trade, I don't think you have fun. Like, draft night is super fun, but the fun's got to continue. And leagues that don't trade, frankly, are bloody boring. They're so boring. If there's no movement, if there's no action in a league, then it feels like there's nothing happening. And so you got to trade. I think the mistake that coaches make, and I see this, it's so common in AFL fantasy. People who play NFL fantasy, I'm just going to be frank, are far better at trading, because that's the culture over there. They don't have a classic game, or if they do, it's not very popular. And so trading is kind of like an art form. Whereas I think over here, trading is kind of treated just like a lazy extra. And it's like, oh, I need this type of player, so I'll just send a few dodgy offers out or whatever.
Yep.
The thing about trade strategy is you can't just trade your trash for someone else's treasure. You can't go into a trade and be like, well, my goal is only to make my team better, and that must be to the detriment of the other player, of the other coach.
And they'd agree.
That's how trades fail. Well, exactly. Yeah. Oh, have my. Yeah, that's right. And who are you going to give me for Briggs? Your round 15 pick?
C-Mac and, whoever my Marek.
Don't know about that one. C-Mac and someone's not actually terrible. No, exactly. So you can't just go into a trade and be like, oh, okay, I need to reinforce my ruck line because I punted it. So I'm going to go after Brodie Grundy. And in return for Brodie Grundy, I'm going to give, someone something really dodgy. Like, you can't do the thing where you go, well, I'll give him 4 players, but they're 4 terrible players. That doesn't equal a whole. But you also can't do the thing where I don't want to give up anything. So what you referenced was last year I drafted Bailey Smith and I got him in the 3rd round, which was wild to me. But I drafted Bailey Smith and he ended up being like was he the number 1 overall AFL fantasy player? Or was he in like the top 3 or something like that?
No, he
might have been number 1 overall.
Yep.
And so I think most coaches would look at that player and go, I can't let him go. I can't. He's my best player. He's the number 1 overall player in AFL fantasy. I got him in the 3rd round. The pick paid off. This is great. Most coaches would not want to let that player go and would struggle to do it.
Yep.
Lock him away. And I totally get that. My logic was my team felt good, but not great. I was weak at the ruck because I had Kieran Briggs, and Briggsy I had hoped would turn into a late round ruck who popped, but he didn't. He was putting up inconsistent scores. He was giving me 60s, a 40 here, maybe a 70 if I'm lucky. It wasn't getting the job done. And so what I thought is, okay, well, I've got the number 1 overall player in fantasy. I can probably not only get a really solid ruckman, but I can also probably get something else really decent in addition to that, because I can make that argument to the person. And so what I was able to do was I actually had Dante Visentini on my bench.
The mob boss.
The mob boss. De Niro. I had Dante Visentini on my bench. And so I went to another player who he had Rowan Marshall and he had I can't remember what his midfield was made up of. He had a few elite midfielders. He had Isaac Heaney. And so I went, okay, I'm going to offer him my Kieran Briggs plus my Bailey Smith, because to me, Kieran Briggs was not a loss. I was like, I don't think he's going to pop, but he was still a name that I felt maybe carried some amount of value. So I went, I'll pair Bailey Smith with Kieran Briggs and I'll get Rowan Marshall. I'll ask for Rowan Marshall and someone else. And I think I actually started by asking for Rowan Marshall and Hugh McCluggage. I think I really tried to reach there and I didn't quite get it. The key was that Isaac Heaney was not lighting the world on fire at the time. He was doing well, but he wasn't pumping out 105s. So I changed the offer and I went and I was like, okay, you don't want to do that. So instead of Hugh McCluggage, make it Isaac Heaney. And I tell you what, I'll throw in an extra ruckman as a little bit of, and I threw in Dante Visentini, who I'd gotten off waivers like a week ago. And he accepted. So I got Romo plus Isaac Heaney, and I traded away Bailey Smith, Kieran Briggs, and Dante Visentini. A week later, Dante Visentini was back on waivers. And I made it to granny. And so
Heaney killed it for the rest of the season.
He killed it for the rest of the season. He went up. And so that was kind of what I was looking at as well. And so what I was able to do with that guy was go, well, his forward line, the reason I ended up choosing him was his forward line had nothing. He had nobody decent. And I thought, I need to find the team that needs an injection in their forward line who I can use Kieran Briggs as like a bit of an added piece in order to get what I need. And that allowed me to my key was like, I had enough decent forward players to kind of cobble together a pretty solid forward line. And I felt like Isaac Heaney plus Rowan Marshall totally was, that was better than one Bailey Smith for my line.
Yep.
So
that's a great example.
The other key was timing. Like you said, it was late season. And this is the other thing. You got trade deadlines coming up.
Yep.
You got to try and make some moves.
And that's where I made the mistake where I did what you said earlier. I was offering 3 and 4 players that those other teams at that point in the season wasn't going to enhance their team in any way, shape or form. So it's definitely something I need to get better at this year. Just offering something that is incentive to enhance the other team and seeing where they're deficient. Do they need a defender? Do they need a forward? But the ultimate reward of perhaps bringing in 2 players, one who's going to pop and then the player you want, can get you to that prelim and get you that grand final.
Yeah, exactly. Trading doesn't always have to be as simple as a 1-for-1. It was something that used to annoy me on the original AFL Fantasy app, is like you could do 2-for-1s and 3-for-2s and all of that on the desktop app, but you could only do 1-for-1 trades in the app. And I think that really caused issues with people's willingness to trade. But now with Keeper Fantasy, I would hope that with the new AFL app that's all fixed as well. The last thing I'll say on trade strategy is a great way to think about it is there are kind of 2 schools of thought. One is I have to win the trade. And I hate that because it often doesn't work. The second one is, I think the way to judge whether a trade is a good trade or not, if both parties come away from the trade feeling like they've both improved their team a little bit, but they also feel a bit uneasy or a bit uncomfortable or unsure, that's a fair, good trade.
Yeah.
You should always feel a little bit like, ooh, have I just made an error here? So yeah, I think that's trade strategy. Waiver wire. Restricted free agents. This is the big component of redraft that we don't have in Classic. Now, our league is set to what I think most leagues are set to, which is rolling waivers. And that's where, like, if you make a successful, you just, go in, it's really easy. You're like, I want to drop this player and pick up this player from the waiver wire. And if you're successful in your bid, you get dropped to the bottom of the list for the following week. And all the people who didn't get successful bids get like pumped up the list, and it just kind of rolls through that way. The other style of waivers, which I love, it's so much fun. I think people are really hesitant for it because it's like, oh man, here's another layer that I've got to like learn. But it's called fab bidding, which is free agency acquisition budget. And all it is leagues are given a budget of, let's say $100 for the season. So every team gets 100 fake dollars for the season. And you place monetary bids on players. And what this means is that everyone has the same chance of landing the player. And so this is what I really like about Fab, is that you don't have, if you're 10th on that waiver priority list and like, some like, let's say Jagger Smith goes undrafted and drops a 118 in week 1, you're not getting Jagger Smith. There's no way in hell. Yeah. But with Fab, everyone has equal opportunity to place a bid on that player and get that player. So I want to talk about waiver wire strategy.
That's Fab.
That's that's good. That's good. I like that. That was Fab.
That was Fab.
Just stole it. Let's start with rolling waivers, because that's what our league is. How do you find the waiver wire on a week-to-week basis? Do you find it as kind of like a confusing ocean of names, or do you find it fairly easy to prioritize who you want to pick up?
Again, something I want to get better at. I often find that I don't have the foresight to pick the player that no one else wants. I felt like I was always on a bidding war, when whether as I should have gone the week earlier or really try and forecast in advance to get these players, but I just felt I was too late. And then I was competing against other players. And that pool is so big, and there's so many structural changes within the team and injuries, and I probably didn't dedicate enough time for that future projection, rather than, oh, that guy's just had 120, I want him now, when everyone else wants him as well. So that's where I felt it fell apart. Rolling waivers sounds like a movie title.
It's like maybe a disaster film with them.
I'm not going to lie. First year of draft, when you said, hey, we'll just go to the waiver wire, I thought, oh, that's great. What is this? I didn't know what a waiver wire was. Oh, you mean just the players who haven't been picked? Oh, right. I thought it was some new beaut.
It's like a secret
bonus round.
A secret vault. Yeah. It's a cool name, isn't it? It's a cool name for an ultimately kind of bland component of the game.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the guys who are no good? Oh, okay.
Oh, man. Well, you actually brought up a good point, though. So that's the key with waivers, is trying to be the week early. And I actually think as classic players, we have a slight advantage with that, because in classic, we just kind of need to apply our classic brain. And I've actually noticed that you're really good at this on draft night, is you do pick up some of those high upside classic that we talk about in the classics, high upside players that we talk about in the classic space that I often don't think about. And so I think you can apply the same logic to waivers and go, okay, if we're looking at team release, or there's a player that comes out injured or something like that, who do I think on that team's list is the most likely player to step into that role? So like a couple of years ago when Dane Zorko made the move to halfback, I remember you and I were talking as Lions fans. Like, we were talking about who would be the player who would make the most sense to fill in for Kitty Coleman. It's Dane Zorko. And, other people were talking about that too. But no one really moved until they saw it happen.
Saw the score, yeah.
And I'm not saying Dane Zorko is going to be on the waiver wire, but that same kind of player, if there's a player where you feel like, okay, yeah, in the context of this team, they make sense to step in and fill that role of that injured player, or there's a hole in this team, in this space, or this team's changed their system, who's going to fit that new system or something like that. If you can be a week early, even a couple weeks early, that can be really good. And it can be as simple as, it doesn't have to be a slam dunk. Like, if you go a couple weeks early on a player, then no one else is going for them, which means you can still prioritize the guys who are more important, right? You can still prioritize the guy who's going 120 that week and hope that you get him. But you can, if you miss him, you can then fill that spot with a player that you're hoping pops in a week or two. And if they don't, you just drop them back to the waiver wire. But if they do, you've gone early and you've kind of propped your team up early. So trying to find that edge.
That prompted my Marek pick. I mean, West Coast was so bad.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much ball back there. Their transition from goal square, he just seems to be that link player. And when I noticed that on the weekend, I thought, this guy is just sitting there on waivers. They've got such a tough start to their season. He could be an 80s to 90s guy, especially with the injuries they have back there. So I try to apply that logic straight away before even opening round. So I'm glad you've said those things.
Yeah, 100%. I did the same thing with the Hollins brothers. So not a lot of people are hot on Elijah Hollins. I am. I knew he'd go undrafted, so I didn't have to waste a draft pick on him. And I thought, great, I'm going to pick him up now when no one else wants him, because he just did 108 in the community series. And if he does that again, if he even goes like 85, 90, he'll be gone next week, but he'll be on my team. So yeah. I will mention for Fab Leagues, use higher bids earlier. So players, we've talked about this idea last year as well. Players that break out properly tend to do it earlier. The caveat here is mid-season draftees. Like, obviously a mid-season draftee can't break out early in the season, but they will break out earlier after their draft as well. So, think of the players that have broken out like Colby McKercher broke out almost immediately. He started scoring really, really strongly almost immediately. Harry Sheasel broke out from week 1 of his first year. Will Ashcroft was strong from, I think, about round 5 onwards. He was awesome, and he had a couple of decent scores in the first 4 or 5 rounds as well. But you can apply this to non-generational talents too. Like, if a player goes 100, if a rookie goes 100 in week 1, go like put a 30% fab bid on it. Put 30% of your budget on that player. Go big or go home, because the players that pop in like round 16, generally speaking, I don't think they continue to pop. It's less consistent. But the players that pop early often continue that breakout throughout the year. So don't save your money for later. Spend your money while the breakouts are happening, and then let people spend their money later in the season on players that are only going to, not actually going to help them after the fact.
So are you thinking, and I'm trying to think of examples here, a Tanner Bruin who may not have get picked up, I'm sure he has, but that type of player who all of a sudden has been thrust a half back and you can see, oh, there's a breakout on the cards here, or a Xavier Lindsay due to May's retirement. And again, they're probably not players who are on that waiver, but that type or archetype where the situation arises, the opportunity is there, and you go early.
Totally. I think Tanner Bruin's on your team, mate.
He is.
But exactly. And I think, okay, Blamires.
There we go. That's a better one.
Blamihihihi, right? If he goes 100, like, I don't think you have to go out and pick him up before the season. I think there are going to be other players that you should collect off waiver before. But if in week 1 he's named and then he goes 90 and you're in a fab league, yeah, I would be dropping like 20 to 30% of fab on him, because to me, that's a reinforcement of what we've seen in the community series. He's clearly got a role. They clearly like him. That breakout is likely to continue. Whereas some random draftee or some younger draftee who gets their shot later in the season, breaks out, their job security is less because they didn't get that job earlier. It's fraught. So spend your money while the breakouts are happening.
Yep.
I think the last thing to talk about is start sit. It's good for start sit strategy. And this is where you can really give yourself an edge. So this is how I lost the grand final.
Oh, pray tell.
I had Dylan Shiel on my bench, and it was the perfect game to play Dylan Shiel. Now, there's one part of my brain that says, and I honestly don't know what the truth is anymore, that there's one part of my brain that says I forgot to field him. There's another part of my brain that says, or maybe you're just a bit of a loser who thought he might screw you if you fielded him. So I didn't field Dylan Shiel, and it literally cost me the ship. So start sit strategy is this idea that, yeah, okay, you've got your keepers, so to speak. You've got your big dog guys who you're fielding. You picked him in the first 5 rounds. You're rolling them out every week. Like, you don't sit Errol Goulden for Jake Saligo just because Jake Saligo has a good matchup, right? But I'm just gonna get the draft board open again.
Yeah,
in front of me.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
But like, okay, if I'm looking at my team, so I'm not going to sit Jordan Dawson for Jake Saligo, but I picked up Dan Houston in round 11. And if Dan Houston is generally speaking doing pretty well, I'll play him. But let's say, I don't know, I'm just looking at names that have gone after Dan Houston. Will Powell. Let's say Will Powell has a particularly good matchup that week or something. You might say, okay, I'm going to field Will Powell over Dan Houston, or Jaden Short. I'm going to field Jaden Short because the ball is just going to be down that end of the field all game long, and so he's just going to rack it up. Dan Houston still probably will have a good game, but I'm making the bet that Jaden Short is going to have a better one here. So start sit strategy is just all about what are the little edges you can give yourself on a weekly basis by fielding those players that maybe other coaches may not assume to do.
Yeah. I'm even looking here. So one of the teams in our comp has a Ned Long just sitting on the bench. So it might be a Windhager, or a Newcomb's got a bit of a niggle, or it's just that matchup where Ned Long is playing a Richmond or a West Coast, and you just make that swap.
Exactly. So starts it. And the flip side of that is your sit decision. So again, you're not sitting Jai Caldwell, Errol Goulden, Andy Brayshaw, Will Ashcroft, Josh Dunkley. You're not sitting these guys, generally speaking. But if maybe, let's say, like, if Richmond have a particularly tricky matchup, I might sit Tim Taranto, specifically because he's got that really tricky matchup. Maybe if I'm looking at Zach Butters and he's still not handling tags this year particularly well, and I know that there's a really strong tag coming this year, I might, if I'm really bold, I might be like, you know what? I'm actually going to sit Zach Butters this week in favor of a Tom Atkins, because I know Tom Atkins is going to rack up 11 tackles this week. because of who he's going. So that's a really ballsy example, a Zach Butters for a Tom Atkins, but you can do those things as well to try and get a bit of a leg up on some of your other coaches. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't, but it's kind of part of the fun of redraft and making those calls and just giving it a crack.
I think I did something last year, but my sit player the week before was a captain.
Yeah, right.
So when I did I had to, at the last minute, I forgot I had to shift my captain because of it. Almost bit me.
Did it bit you?
I just got there, but I could have.
Any bets you want to take, given that we're facing off each other in round one? Anything you want to put on the line?
I just didn't like, you know how you have the projected scores?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pump me. And I just thought, look at my side. Who is unders? Who is that unders? I just didn't think my team was that bad. So
what have I got? 1330.5 to your 1257.5.
Yeah.
Projected.
So
yeah, I don't.
Crazy.
So you think your team is that much better than my team?
Well, you think you're better than me?
Yeah, you think you're better than me? Get out of here.
That's great. But we should do something, right?
We should do something. We'll figure it out. We'll talk on. We'll talk Saturday night. I think maybe at the game we'll work out some kind of bet.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll be good. Pre-cans.
Pre-cans. Yeah. It's probably a good time to do it.
Hey, you'll come from a Bucks. Advantage came in.
I'll be pre-canned.
That's great.
Let's
watch some footy.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think we're done. Let's watch some footy. I got to edit this before we watch footy, and I got to watch Scrubs tonight too. I got lots to do. There's a new episode.
I got a new show.
Out.
I'll talk to you about next episode.
Yeah, I'll save it for next. Love it. I got to do the outro music. I'm like, I'm in an hour, and this is hard to time up when you're. I'm panicking. There it is. If you give us a follow if you enjoy the content, everyone. You can follow K-Man on Twitter at K-Man_CC Fantasy. You can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy. Next episode. Yes.
Say hello, people.
We like hellos. Next episode. Big one. Classic team reveals.